A tie for the lead. It doesn't get any closer than that. But if last week's track was pretty typical for fare for dirt ovals, this week takes one of the norms and turns it on its head. Lernerville's notorious open layout with no walls for much of the track creates a treacherous proposition for the competitors. Ride high and go fast, and ride too high and it's off into the trees. Who dares get close to the edge? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 6 of the Bootleg Racing League's Dirt Street Stock Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Describing Lernerville is one thing, but seeing it in action really illustrates the challenge it presents. Let's head to our track guide to learn more.
Welcome to Lernerville Speedway, a staple in the Pennsylvania dirt track racing scene. For over 50 years, Lernerville Speedway has hosted sprint cars, late models, and modifieds on a weekly basis with annual visits from the world of outlaws. Located 30 minutes north of Pittsburgh in the tiny town of Sarver, Lernerville is known for its high speeds and the unique 4/10-mile layout. When a driver first rolls out onto the track at Lernerville, they might ask, where'd the wall go? The only barrier at this track separates fans from the action down the front straight, and it's a short one. That makes Lernerville particularly challenging for those who like to ride around on the cushion, while the top side can help keep the speeds up and provide momentous runs. If you drop your right rear, you're probably off staring at the trees. Well, the layout at Lernerville is also asymmetrical, creating 4 very different corners, and as a result, the back straight's never really actually straight. Turn 3 can be especially deceiving. It's got a wide, sweeping entrance, but buyer beware. Turn 4 cuts hard, and that wall we talked about, well, it'll still come out and bite you. Well, that's our look at Lernerville Speedway. We hope you enjoy the show.
Well, DJ, it's back to Pennsylvania once again. What can we expect here with the street stocks?
Well, Joe, as often really seems to be the case with these dirt street stocks, you're going to want to run the high lane around here at Lernerville. The heavy nature of the cars and the desire to really keep up that momentum is going to put pretty much everybody on the high side here tonight. Now, I think as we see the race develop, we could see a couple of slider lines starting to develop. That may be a good way to get by, but running a true low line is going to be very, very difficult for these guys. But the biggest danger, as you mentioned in that intro of running the high side, is the lack of wall around the top line. Drivers are going to have to be very, very careful, because if they carry just a fraction too much speed coming and into turn 1, they will soon find themselves over the lip. And frankly, the same is true coming out of turn 4. Now there is a retaining wall to catch the drivers, but we have seen that wall catch out some of the best dirt drivers in this series, so everybody's going to have to be watching out for it.
Certainly. And as we look at the championship, another thing we mentioned was that tie up at the top. Proudfoot and Hargraves halfway through the season and evenly matched, literally. J.R. Shepard is a good distance back there with his own fight with Billy Northcutt for that second and third position. John Wilson is a number of ways back, but only 10 away from Justin Morton currently, who has his on and off days. But things could certainly shift around, and obviously we'll have to see who comes out the leader after this evening. What about our race details, DJ?
Well, Joe, we are on the 6th of 11 rounds here in the BRL Dirt Street Stock Series, so we are just over that halfway point. And the format for tonight's race is going to be our standard heat race format. So drivers are currently out on track for a 20-minute practice session. They will then have 4 laps to try to set their best time in qualifying. That will determine the order of the heat races. Now, once we get to those heat races, the top 3 drivers from the heats will advance, and everyone else will be relegated back down to the B main consolation. In that race, we're not going to have any bumping tonight based off of the size of the field. However, that will determine the starting order for the lower chunk of the field. Then we gear everybody up, get them ready for the A main. That's going to be a 40-lap race here tonight, and that will be the only time we see a yellow flag get thrown.
Got about 5 minutes left in the warm-up, and another fresh face here who is proving to be quick. Connor Berry is leading the way in our timing and scoring. But again, that doesn't necessarily translate to the qualifying and, of course, race pace. But we now watch J.R. Shepard, who's out there running in 10th. Proudfoot holds second on the timing sheets with Bobby Hayes in third. Hargraves surprisingly down in P5. Trying the low line a little bit as we watch on board JR. And once again, just a different style of racing from what we've seen from Proudfoot. Getting it right up to that wall, just grazes it looked like, on his way in there. And then definitely riding the lip through 1 and 2.
And now we're going to jump over to Brandon Proudfoot. We ride on board with the driver of the 22 machine there. You can see, doing a prime example of just what happens when you carry a little bit too much speed. Love that we got to see that completely over in VR. Had to look all the way over his shoulder for it. That's absolutely fantastic. And Joe, you can see already just how much these corners are starting to slick up. That's going to make things very difficult for the drivers and very hard to control the cars around that top side. They're going to have to be extra careful not to run over that cushion.
That was pretty cool, actually seeing him make the effort to try and look behind him, not just glance at the mirrors, but make sure that he's clear before he came back onto the track. Probably a lot easier without a Hans device on to be able to make those sort of turns and make sure that you are good to go. Not many of them are out on track right now. Many have ducked back into pit lane. Guess they're pretty content with how things sit. So because of that, I almost feel like as I look at the track, it's not all that worn in currently. We've got a bit of slicked up line up on the high side where most people we expect to run. This is onboard Seneca, as we've got another VR user showing us what it's like here at this track. But I find it interesting that we have so little use here, that this might be one of the fresher tracks we've seen once we get to the qualifying.
You're very right, Joe, and you can really see how apparent that is down on that low line as Seneca throws his way through the corner. You can see that, just almost looks undisturbed down on that middle to low line. So that may lead to some very exciting racing when we get to the heat races. Maybe some guys getting a little adventurous and trying to go down there. But as it happens, that is where it stands right now.
And the 88 of Connor Berry out there. And now he's not, as he gets a little bit camera shy for a second. So we've got something of a smaller field compared to what we had earlier on in the season. Only 13 have showed up. Joe Segala right now the last of those, as you see the 81 attempt the low line to see what he can find out of that. Gets a little tail happy off the corner, unfortunately. So he's just going to park it down on the infield. So last 2 minutes left to go, and fewer cars put themselves out there. In fact, I think we've only got one right now, and that's still Seneca.
Yeah, Ryan really just trying to find as much as he can. He's currently down in 9th in practice, but as we've seen multiple times this season, that finishing order in practice not always indicative of where these guys are going to end up. Seneca, that's something that can happen, especially with as constant as that high line is. You just get a little bit of over rotation on the high side, and that can throw it ever so slightly. This is Billy Northcutt. Ooh, hang on to it. Ooh, barely keeping it upright.
It's almost doing a little bit of a board slide across the ridge there as he once again gets it going. Speaking of those moments where the cars will probably go off track, I don't want to say if, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be a when thing here. We're probably not going to see a caution when that happens. So I feel like that's something we haven't really talked about yet, DJ, is that if you find yourself, well, that'll cause a caution right there. If you find yourself off the track, you basically you kind of have to make up the time on your own. You don't have a yellow to save you.
Exactly. There will be a triggering yellow if drivers do that through about halfway through 3 and into 4, and that in and out from the pits in that area. But if you go off coming through 1 and onto the backstretch, you're right, Joe, there will not be a caution thrown. They will just have to keep going. So very, very tricky for these drivers. They're going to have to be especially careful because you're right. This is a very, very short circuit. And if they get caught out, they could go down a lap very quickly.
Curious about this Connor Berry character. There he is in the 88. He hails from California, or at least the California Club here on iRacing. Sometimes that can't always be accurate for drivers, but don't get too many of those. Not a whole lot of the West Coasters. Usually drivers from the Midwest, the Southeast, or the Northeast are the most common that we see compete out here as the last of the warm-up finishes up. We're going to get the qualifying laps going. But so far, it looks like Connor could be a serious threat to some of our quicker drivers. Let's see what he's got underneath him on 1 lap pace. As I think Ryan Seneker going to be our first one to set a lap.
Yeah, Seneker looks like he is going out and going for gold here. You see him as he makes his way past the start-finish right now and dives into that first corner.
So this will essentially set the marker. And again, of the 4 laps that they get, it is the quickest that counts. This is not an average. This is all to who can use it the best over a single flyer, which means they can stop back into the pits if they want to, but it will waste a lap. And here we go for Seneker around 3 and 4, flirting with that outside line. And across the timing line, it is an 18.6. So what's everybody else got? John Wilson sets the next one, but he's about half a tenth off.
Yeah, and you can see just how squirrely Seneker got there, but Connor Berry coming in hot with an 18.459 as of right now. Segala slotting into 5th. Let's see what Seneker's got on that second lap as we watch Michael Davies working his way around. Davis, excuse me.
Yeah, and waiting on some of the quicker names to get out there too. Looks like Wilson up to an 18.2, so he's fast now. Is Robbie Robinson on to 2nd. Connor Berry trying the low line as we watch Seneker on screen. There's Connor coming off of turn 4 with that low line work. Yes, it does. An 18.3, but it doesn't get him the pole.
No, it does not. We're going to stay on board with Connor here. You can see a little bit of a squiggle coming out of that last corner for him. Diving very, very low on the grass, taking a slider line to try to carry as much momentum as possible. Has to catch the car and not able to improve there.
He's very lucky he didn't hit the wall. That would have discounted that lap. Davis still sitting in 4th. He hasn't gone quicker than his first time through. Bobby Hayes is just behind him. His 3rd lap is a 19 flat. That's well off of his 18.6, unfortunately. So what about Davis here? That's his 4th and final one, and still was not able to improve on that 18.4. Now we go to Brennan Myers, who just set his first time. That's going to bump him up to 6th.
Indeed, checking back here on Bobby Hayes as well. That's going to be a slow lap there for the driver of that machine. Here comes Billy Northcutt. Northcutt putting in an 18.5. That's going to slot him into 5th, but there goes J.R. Shepard up into 2nd.
Ooh, but he's got to worry about Brandon Proudfoot. We're watching Billy Northcutt, who's going to come across the line about the same time that Proudfoot will. And Brandon does not set his first time yet. So J.R. Shepard back around, and his 2nd lap isn't going to be quicker. Now we head over to the 22, our current champion. This is his first time lap. Cross the line, and it is an 18.1. That'll put him on the pole immediately.
It will indeed, and we're watching J.R. Shepard there, but here comes Proudfoot again, seeing if he can maybe dip down into that fabled land of the 17s. Very, very close, up against the high side there. An 18.5 on that last run, so not as good for him, but he's still got 2 more laps to go.
J.R. Shepard's 4th lap, still not faster than that 18.307. Northcutt as well on his final circuit was an 18.3. And that means that nobody is able to take this away from Proudfoot, even though he has an extra lap left in his qualifying. Everybody is done. Bizarrely, William Hargraves Well, I take this back. Hargraves can still get out there if he hustles right now. And it looks like he's actually backing the car up to get himself a better launch. So he's got 2 laps left to go. The 71 now coming onto the track. There he is right there. His first 2 laps not very quick, and he's under pressure as that last one did count as a lap as he crossed the line. So he's got to hope that this windup that he did is quick enough to improve. A new paint scheme, but is it not going to do him any good as he crosses? It's an 18.4. It is his fastest, but that's still only 7th place.
It's going to be a very rough break for one of our championship contenders there in Hargraves. He's going to have a lot of work to do to make up for here in the heat races.
I have to figure out which heat that will put him in, because if it puts him in the same heat as Proudfoot, that will certainly stunt his potential starting position for the feature, because I expect he would probably be able to improve to try for a victory on that heat. In the meantime, our grid is set, so let's go through our heat for the first round. Our starting grid for the first heat. Brandon Proudfoot will be starting on the pole, with J.R. Shepard starting in second. And then is William Hargraves. He is in the same heat as Brandon Proudfoot and will start behind him in third.
In fourth is going to be Bobby Hayes, with Christopher Schaefer lining up in fifth.
So the 2 Titans, the 2 championship leaders, will fight immediately. And the reason I feel like this is significant is, well, whoever finishes ahead will be, let's see, I think 3 or 4 positions higher on the grid in the feature.
Exactly, Joe, and that could be an absolute disaster when it comes to championship points, because not only does that mean the guy who's starting farther back is going to have a lot more work to do, but they are going to be more susceptible to getting involved in an incident if something were to happen in front of them.
Already, Proudfoot takes a few more bonus points over his rival. So currently, he's technically the leader in the championship as this heat now starts. So they've broken the tie, at least temporarily. We'll see if that comes back together as time goes on. What about the likes of J.R. Shepard, too? He seemed relatively quick today. He's going to be starting on the front row. Can he use that to his advantage?
Well, we will have to see what he can do. It'll make for a very interesting proposition. He does have what I would imagine is to be a slightly preferred line on that high side. That's where Proudfoot's going to want to get up to if he can.
Waiting for the pace truck to let them go. Pit entry is actually off of turn 3 here, so we'll see him work his way out there and give control to the 22. There he goes. So heading off to the outside of the circuit, waiting for Proudfoot to give the go, and he is off. Green flag is out. Actually caught Hargraves out a little bit as he tried to accelerate too soon, got into the back of him. Both of them immediately go low up on the high side. J.R. Shepard has better momentum, but he can't seem to get that track position.
He's able to get his nose just alongside Proudfoot, though. With that momentum, he's going to have to be careful here. They're able to clear Hargraves, so that's going to be good news for Shepard. He's going to be able to poke his nose around if he wants to, but Hargraves making things very difficult continuing to run that low line.
Remember, Hargraves, if he can hold on to this third place, he still will automatically advance to the feature. But J.R. Shepard will start much higher than him as things sit right now. As we watch on board with J.R. Shepard, sending it down to the low side. He likes what he sees from those 2. It's going to retain him second place. Now he's going to duck a little bit lower. Middle line for him. And William Hargraves all the way to the very bottom. But once again, he can't seem to get by that gray 98.
Yeah, the top line really still the way to go here. Hargraves taking it a very wide line through the corner, trying to maximize momentum. Car was a little bit sideways on corner exit, though, so that definitely came back to bite him a little bit, but goes high here once again.
Such a calm and smooth driving style from the 22. And this time, Hargrave's going to go high. Oh, I saw some blinking from the 98. He seems to be having some connection issues. Let's hope that doesn't continue. We're going to get 1 to go. Next time, by and almost contact between William and JR.
Yeah, and Hargraves getting very, very squirrely mid-corner, but up front, Brandon Proudfoot not really having too much of a threat from Shepard other than just a full mirror's worth.
There have been some attempts, but nobody's been able to make a pass stick. Will we see a slider from Hargraves? He tries it, but he's just a little too shallow. Win goes to Brennan Proudfoot, Shepard second, and Hargraves third. It looks like Schaefer will finish fourth as Hayes settles in fifth. Those two will head to the consolation. That takes us now to the second heat of the night. This time, only 4 cars, and it is going to be Billy Northcutt who starts on the pole. Robbie Robinson will be on his outside.
Behind them, it'll be Michael Davis, followed by Ryan Seneker.
Well, that was interesting. We didn't see any passes that worked out except between 4th and 5th, and we didn't really see what happened. We were so caught up in that battle between the top 3. I suspect an off track maybe would have had something to do with that. Now, Billy Northcutt has jumped the gun a little bit here. What is Billy doing?
I think Billy just wanted to get out there and get a little bit of a preemptive check on the track, maybe. As long as he falls back behind the pace car by the time they get around to the second lap, he will be okay and no penalty will be assessed. So there he goes, sliding back into line.
That was very unusual. And we already had a penalty for passing the pace car once before on Wednesday night with the trucks and the Precision Racing League. So it's not impossible, except it's just very rare that we see that penalty handed out. So I hope Billy was able to avoid that and gave it back quick enough. This is from onboard Seneker. Let's watch the start from here and see what it's like from the perspective of the 61.
There you see that. I love that, just kind of stretching out his neck a little bit, getting ready for the race. Some of that may just be a little bit of trying to get his muscles ready to go. Some of it may just be a little bit of a good luck charm, Joe, is especially on these dirt guys. A lot of them very, very superstitious.
All right, here we go. Pace truck is in. Northcutt has control. Comes around 3 and 4, and he's off. Green flag is out. It's a pretty good start over Robinson. A little bit of a slip up from Davis to the inside of Seneker. Seneker going to ride the high line as ahead of him Davis struggles, and he's going to slip into third.
He is indeed. Good line there from Seneker. You can see him looking off to his right on that VR headset, just all the way through the corner, taking a medium line there, having counter steer a little bit down the straight, setting in with that Scandinavian flick, getting the car set and wrapping around turns 1 and 2.
So immediately we get a pass for third. Seneker will advance to the feature if he can hold on to this. Up in front of the two of them, Billy Northcutt leads Robinson by about half a second.
And Northcutt, very interestingly, taking a sort of a diamond approach to the corners, starting high, diving low, clipping the apex, and coming back out. At least was doing that through 1 and 2, so just kind of experimenting with some lines there. Jumps back up to that high line. Let's see if he runs that diamond line again. He does, through 1 and 2. Look at that.
Off through, bit of a middle line as we ride on board with Robinson. And Northcutt now up to the high side. Robinson pulling something of a slider. We're going to take 2 to go this time by. They continue to stretch away from Seneker in third, who's slightly under threat from Davis, but not under a whole heap of pressure.
And Billy Northcutt really just driving a collected race here. I think this is a lot of reconnaissance here for the number 0 driver, figuring out where is the best.
Right now, where he's been driving is the best. Oh, he clipped the wall on the way in, and then he gets into the grass on the way down into the corner. Somehow he holds on to the lead. That was a very strange line from what has been an odd race, an odd heat for the double lot, but he'll still take the win as Robbie Robinson finishes second, and Seneker does indeed advance with third as Davis finishes fourth.
Yeah, it's a very strange mistake, as you said there, from Billy Northcutt, but it's what can happen if you lose focus here for even a second. Just that merest brush of the wall, it messes up your setup of the corner. It can very, very easily throw you.
All right, our next group, also 4 drivers, has John Wilson starting on the top spot, continuing to improve race after race. Connor Berry will start from second with Brennan Myers in P3. Joe Segala will begin from fourth, and already they head out onto the track. This is where we really start to get a feel for if Connor Berry is going to be a major player or not.
My sentiments exactly, Joe. You know, it can be very easy to have a rough qualifying, track changes a little bit, and you just kind of miss it on that first lap, and you're never able to get back up to it. But if he is able to run a very clean line here, good race, and especially if he takes this heat race win, I think that time we saw during during practice may be the real deal, and he'll be one to watch out for come race time.
I feel like the 75 is going to be a real feel-good story if he can take this heat win, get himself a start from third on the grid in the feature. If he does so, let's see if he can back up his qualifying pace as they come through 1 and 2 behind the pace truck, and still not seeing too slicked up of a high line. It is still in pretty good condition. There goes the pace truck. John Wilson's waiting on it, giving it some time, and he goes now, mid-corner. Good start for that 75, but momentum starts to swing back for Berry in the 88. He rides the high line. Down below him, that is Brennan Myers in the 25, but he can't get the speed off the corner.
No, he can't. That's going to move Berry firmly up into second, and Wilson looks like he was struggling a little bit off of the line just to get that car pointed in the straight way. Continues to run a medium line here and runs it down again. He's got to be careful. That's given a lot of momentum on the high side to Connor Berry. Let's see if that 88 can capitalize, though.
Still trying to go where the 75 isn't, just a little bit higher than that purple and white machine, as we are now on the rear bumper of John Wilson. Now he goes low, follows him underneath onto the flat. Brennan Myers continues to work the high side, and though he's not losing anything, is also not gaining.
Yeah, it's relatively static here, and it looks like Berry just not really able to get those runs he wants to, really trying to find something over Wilson. A lot of experimentation, like we said. Ooh, a little bit of over-rotation there out of 2. Thought for a second Brennan Myers was going to have a bit of a look, but Berry able to recover.
John Wilson taking the 2 to go, and Berry having some trouble off of 4 now. Can Brennan Myers maybe sneak into second? He's going to go underneath him, but he had a big blink, and that once again will deny him.
Yeah, that really, really hurt him. I think he scared himself a little bit. Nobody on track. He knew that was a blink and had to get out of it. But now here comes John Wilson to take that white flag.
1 to go for the 75, still solidly in the lead despite little pokes and prods from the 88. 1 more corner. Wilson taking it down low, and he is through to take victory in the first heat, or in the third heat of the night, rather. Berry advances and Brennan Meyer advances. Joe Segala now heads to the consolation race, which starts right now. And let's go through that starting order. Not many of them here today in the consolation. Chris Schaefer will be on the pole with Michael Davis to his outside.
Joe Segala will be behind them in third, and Bobby Hayes will start off in P4.
Okay, so a few drivers that had some trouble in their heat races, and this is why it puts them down here. All if I could say it, all 4 will advance to the feature race today. So the main pressure here is your starting position for the highest points paying race of the evening, as we ride on board now with Bobby Hayes, watching everybody work their way over the little lip and jump that takes you onto the track.
Yeah, and that is a surprisingly high sort of semi-jump there, Joe. I can tell you from experience when I've come out onto this in sprints and midgets, very, very easy to completely look like a fool and lose it coming over that.
Yeah, the first car I took here was the midget, and I was a little bit shocked when I went airborne coming onto the track. I took it slower next time I came out. I didn't even think I was going that fast, to be honest. As the pace truck leads our 4 around, and let's see who is able to take this consolation win. Chris Schaefer will be starting this one on the pole in that number 23. Michael Davis going to try and see if he could get enough of a jump to challenge him for that. Pace truck going to be heading in, looking for that pit exit. There it goes. Schaefer waits. Most of the drivers seem to go about halfway through the corner. He's already pulling ahead a little bit, and the green flag waves. Now he goes. Ooh, I thought the 81 had a good start, but then he spun the tires, and Davis is going to carry the speed. Goes up for the middle line through 1 and 2, and he might chop off the 81 just a little bit, but he has to check up.
Yeah, was barely able to avoid contact there, and now it looks like Schaefer going back to the high side. Watch out for the 81. There is contact between them. Ooh, that's Segalo really catching the worst of it. I think he is all the way around. He is indeed, but the battle for the first place here. Watch for a little crossover there from Schaefer.
Back to the lead, despite Bobby Hayes absolutely chucking it in. Down below him, Michael Davis. It is a three-way battle for the top spot here in our consolation race, and they have more time to work this one out. Remember, 10 laps here today for this one.
Indeed, and you really see Davis keeping to try to run that low line, but a trend that I'm seeing starting to develop here. If you run that low line, let's see if he does it here. You get a big squiggle. Yep, there it is, right there. Just have to overcorrect it ever so slightly coming out of the corner. Able to run alongside, though, up to Bobby Hayes, but once it gets onto the straight, the momentum carrying the 13 on.
Hayes doing fantastic. Remember, he started from 4th on this grid. He's in 2nd, almost had a good chance at taking the lead away from Schaefer. Down to 6 laps to go now. And we have seen such a variety of lines for the cars out here today. But as you can see, most of the entry into turn 3 very much on that high side with a very slicked up line. Same thing there down into 1, but they've got a lot of dirt and gunk up along that high line still.
Yeah, they do. That's really a result of, here you can see it perfectly. Now, this is all really a result of drivers running lower lines earlier in tonight's event. You run that low line, the dirt gets kicked up the track, and that's really blown a lot of loose dirt up onto the high side. That's not great for these tires. They like more compacted, solid ground beneath them.
23 still holds the upper hand, and he's now got it down to 3 laps to go. Another slider from Bobby Hayes, but I don't think that one's going to work either. Right underneath him goes the 23 and gets back in front.
He's going to hold it, but it looks like Bobby's going to go for a little bit of an over-under here if he can get it. Can't quite get the overlap. But, Joe, I do have to say that slider is looking promising. He doesn't exactly have it timed perfectly, but he's at least able to get it working in there. That's a better run for him. They're going to be side-by-side entering 3.
Ooh, can he maybe finish the job here? Coming off of 4 once again. Oh, and a little too wide. Schaefer just taps the wall. He falls back to 3rd. Davis advances up into 2nd, and Bobby Hayes has a clear track ahead as the white flag flew. Now down to the last 2 corners. Bobby Hayes will go from last to 1st in the consolation race. Give that man a pat on the back. The 13 wins. Davis takes 2nd. Schaefer 3rd, and Segala comes home in 4th. Wow.
Absolutely incredible and very heartbreaking there if you are Christopher Schaefer. That lip coming around 3 and 4, we talked about it, Joe, that somebody was going to fall afoul of it, and the first one to do it while wheels were being turned in anger was the 23 of Chris Schaefer.
We get a 5-minute warm-up now. Drivers will have some time to reacclimate themselves to the track since it's changed quite a bit between those first 3 heats and now. So everybody needs to get at least a little bit of time to try and check it out, see what works and what doesn't. Speaking of which, let's talk about what we saw in those heats in that consolation. Any surprises? Anything that really kind of took you off guard?
Well, Joe, in the heat races themselves, I was a little surprised we didn't see more of what Bobby Hayes was doing. Folks, throwing that slider line, we've seen that be very, very effective in the past. So a little bit surprising that we haven't seen that come in yet, but Hayes proving there that you can kind of make it work. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more of that during the race. I'm also a little bit surprised to see just how low a lot of guys are running. There's not a lot of super high lip running around here right now. I would have expected there to be much, much more of that, but drivers a little cautious of falling over the line.
Certainly. So let's keep our eyes on the warm-up times as well, see if there's any drastic changes. Hargrave's a bit of a surprise for me in that 71. Can we get a closer look at the new paint, though? They've run in something different this week out there than what we've been used to. Kind of got the checkered flag motif. And, oh, he's going to pull off to the side. Something not jiving well with him in that warm-up as he's going to reset. In the meantime, we're going to look at J.R. Shepard, who continues to circulate on a pretty good run so far today. Second in his heat, so going to be starting relatively well out there today. And looked pretty solid. Took a few pokes, DJ, but I don't think we really saw anything super serious out of him.
No, and JR is normally a very sort of heady driver. He tends to not drive by his gut and really drives by his head a lot, thinking things through. And I wouldn't be surprised if he thought during that heat, you know what? I'm just going to let this lay back and lie. I don't want to get too aggressive here and maybe run the risk of having to run in the B main. I'm perfectly content to just be in one of the automatic advancing positions and go from there.
And that's what he did. He took second place in the end. It got him automatically through into the feature race. He's still ripping the high line, taking it right up to the edge. And plenty of drivers rubbering in that line. Boy, the front, is it just me or is the front stretch look very bumpy? I kind of noticed it at first. I was like, wow, there's a couple little dots of rubbering in on that front stretch. And then as we were riding on board with Shepard, it just looked like that thing was bouncing all over.
Yeah, very much. It is a very, very bumpy front stretch, even when the track state is at zero. It's one of the biggest reasons you actually see a lot of guys make some minor contact with the outside wall there. Very, very easy to do. The car gets unsettled. It's just kind of one of the characteristics of the track, Joe, that it's the way the dirt lies on the surface.
Yeah, there you can see as we ride on board with Robinson, the thing just bounds away underneath him. Not something we typically see here in the street stocks, even though they do have pretty soft suspensions. And certainly is going to be affecting battles, I'm sure, if things get intense, as they've got to control the cars as best they can if things start to get close. But 13 will take part in this feature race. And right now, as we come into it, Proudfoot has the upper edge, but only just in points, not by a lot. If he gets beat by more than one position by Hargraves, then he could see either that tie return or even lose the championship lead by the time they leave Pennsylvania.
Indeed, and you can rest assured that he's really going to be trying to fight up for that. I have to imagine Hargraves definitely does not want any opportunity missed here. He wants to take everything he can away from such an extraordinary and consistent driver like Brandon Proudfoot.
13 seconds left to go. And we've seen plenty of drivers go off the edge in the warm-up, not nearly as many in the heat races today. So will that change now that we are on to the big points pair, the feature of round 6 here at Lernerville in the Bootleg Racing League Dirt Street Stock Series. Checkered flag is out, and we begin to grid up here today. Let's go through that starting order. It is Brandon Proudfoot who will be starting on the pole, with Billy Northcutt in second place. We've got John Wilson starting in third today. Fantastic run for the 75. J.R. Shepard will start from fourth, with fifth going to Robbie Robinson. And Connor Berry rounds out our top half of the field, starting from down in sixth.
Just as surprising after that practice from Connor Berry is William Hargraves starting all the way back in seventh. He's going to have a lot of work to do here tonight, but next to him will be Ryan Sedeker. Brendan Myers and Bobby Hayes will line up behind him, with Michael Davies in 11th and Christopher Schaefer in 12th, with Joe Segala rounding out the back of the field.
There's your 13 drivers that now make their way onto the track itself. We get 2 pace laps, and then we're on our way for 40 laps around here. And again, this is our first time with cautions on in this evening's events. So we'll see if we get any, or if everybody is going to be slipping out too far outside and wind up not throwing a caution, which is every driver's worst fear. You lose time and you'd have no way to catch it back up except for your raw pace.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very tough if that happens to you. So I think, especially early on, I would not be surprised if we saw what we saw during the heat races, and that is to say a lot of drivers just kind of holding back a little bit from running super high, playing the cautious game rather than the super aggressive one.
Brandon Proudfoot waiting anxiously behind our leader, our pace car, and Billy Northcutt is going to be chasing him. Can Northcutt snag himself a win as they come out of 4? Green flag is out. Northcutt spins the tires up. This actually gives a shot to J.R. Shepard, who's on his high side. Shepard, though, goes to the middle. Slider line there from the 0 car, and it looks like Northcutt will not see it work. He tries to go to the outside, but there's J.R. Shepard there to stop him.
Exactly, and Connor Berry behind in that 88 having a very, very good run as well. He is already all the way up. Ooh, big slap into the wall there for J.R. Shepard. I don't think that's going to affect him too much as these cars are pretty tanky, but Northcutt takes another look, and that's going to let J.R. Shepard slide on by.
Shepard looking for second. He tries to get past, but he can't quite make it stick. He's going to have much better momentum once again into the wall, and he actually hits Northcutt on the way out. Northcutt decides to go low after that one, way low, as he tightens it up as much as possible, but it's not going to get him ahead of Shepard.
Northcutt has got to be absolutely kicking himself here. He's got nowhere to go. I think he's trying to get up to that high side as he just feels like he's getting swallowed running low. There he starts to shift in, checks up. That is Berry behind him, and now he's going to have the momentum position shift. Berry getting very squiggly as well off of 2.
Berry was very close to be able to use the momentum to get past that 0 car. It's just not quite working. And onto the front stretch, he looked much faster down the way towards turn 1. A little bit of 3 wide behind the ball, and that involves John Wilson, who goes sailing off the course. Wilson is into the trees.
Oh my goodness, he's all the way off into the forest after that jump, Joe. There we can see he's still on track, though, trying to fight to get his way back in. Come on, John, come on.
And he got saved. There's a caution. I think he's going to be scored on the lead lap because he hadn't been lapped yet. Yeah, it looks like he is ahead of the leaders. This happened with Schaefer. So the 23 brought the yellow out, which is a huge relief to Wilson. I would love for us to get a view of Wilson, especially on board, because he actually went 4 wheels sailing into the air.
He really, really did. That was absolutely mega. As Schaefer, yeah, that was Schaefer's incident, just getting a little bit squirrely. I think that's what actually may have drawn out the caution, Joe.
It was. That was absolutely what brought the yellow out. He was just in the firing line, unfortunately. Now, this is what happened to Wilson. 3 wide. The 88 is to his outside. He ran out of room. And the 88, I don't think, did anything wrong here. He was just running his line. Unfortunately for Johnny, he just got caught in that quarter panel in the wrong way.
It really did. That is what I think the definition of a racing incident there is for the 75. Very, very tough for him, as he was having a great day here today.
Well, gave us a little bit of entertainment, at least briefly, but sent him to the back of the pack. And I think he may have gotten a little bit of damage from it on top of it.
Yeah, just a tad. You get that much air in these street stocks. They are tanks, but they will still respond to that kind of damage.
All right, we are double file once again. And this time it is Proudfoot to the outside and Shepard to his inside. You talked about JR's intelligence in his racing. I wonder if he could try to pull something sneaky on that yellow 22.
We'll have to find out here as the pace truck dives off and we're ready to go green.
Waiting for it. The green flag is out. Even on the slicked up stuff, the 22 looks quick. He's able to get back into the lead. Shepard tries to take the 98 low behind him. What about Hargraves? He's suddenly into third. We haven't been watching his progress, and he's in the thick of it.
That was a brilliant start from Hargraves, able to start on that top line. He has no fears running it right up against the lip. J.R. Shepard tries to slide back in line. Brennan Myers takes a big clobber of the wall, rides it up, and I think that's going to allow, as that's a slider up front, and now the leaders are side by side.
Hargraves almost had it in front of Brandon Proudfoot. He's going to try it again, but he's way too hot into there. Is he going to be able to keep it in bounds? He does, and he's on the outside now. Can Proudfoot get back to that line? He's going to send it in low and then drift it up in front of William Hargraves, and now he's got it back. The two Titans are at it again. Our championship leaders going back and forth, and we get a caution again, this time for Michael Davis.
Oh, no, an absolute disappointment there from Hargraves. He was trying to set him up again, but Davis going around, and that brings out our yellow.
He got help from the 81, and poor John Wilson, unfortunately, was right by it. I think he only had a little touch in it. You're going to see him on the bottom there. He's already starting to go around the 81, drifting up, catches him, turns him around, full 360. And unfortunately, a pirouette on the dirt just isn't as pretty as it is in the concert hall.
It really isn't, Joe, but that is very indicative of something that I have been noticing over the course of this race. If you are running anything but the low line, the car has a tendency to try to over-rotate and spin the tires on corner exit. And I think that's exactly what happened with Segala behind, is that the car was a little bit sliding around and then it suddenly gripped and he shot forward. And that's what caused Davis to go around. But that's going to be the big problem here for anybody who's on the inside.
All right, so last time the restart worked well for the 71. 98 tried it, but then couldn't really keep up and eventually got passed by Hargraves. He'll be on the inside, though, down in third, so could see Shepard pull a sneaky one and get it right back from William. Brandon Proudfoot restarting on lap 16. Here we go. Off of turn 3. And there he goes. Green flag is out. Brandon Proudfoot easily up to the front, immediately slotting in behind him. William Hargraves also liking that high line. Some contact. We're getting some cars turned around. The 25. I also see the 88. Yellow is out. So Connor Berry and I think Brennan Myers are the first two to make this happen. And then unfortunately, Ryan Seneker also going to get caught up in it. I think the 25 gets the worst of it because he actually hits the wall on the inside.
Yeah, looks like so. There you can see start of contact there with Barry. That sends him around. Myers was able to gather it back up and then further contact with the 61 there of Ryan Seneker. And you can see that heavy damage. And Joe, that's a really, really tough break here for Myers. He absolutely was running one of the best races I've seen him run all year.
Yeah, restarts in the back. Thankfully, car doesn't look too bad. Here's the hit, though. Ooh, that was actually kind of rough on the front left. Let's watch it one more time. This will give us a better idea of just how hard it was. He almost had it, and that second one sent him in. Oh, yeah, okay, that suspension might be pretty bad then. Yeah, he's had to take it into pit lane, and unfortunately, it will also send him a lap down as he's not able to make it back in time. Poor Brennan Myers. That definitely was not his fault.
No, it really wasn't. And as I said, this has been one of the best runs I've seen the 25 driver make all year long. And it's very, very disappointing to see him out like that.
Here we go again. All right, round 3 between Hargraves and Proudfoot. This race Second time they're going to restart side by side. Will we see some fireworks? It already erupted behind them. If Hargraves gets a little antsy, they could come together trying to grab that high side. Green flag is out, but once again, the 22 has the legs. And once again, Hargraves going to try the low side. Going to see if he can slide up in front of him. Not to be. And in fact, he might be under threat from the 0. Northcutt almost manages to get under him.
Yeah, I think he's got to come back here, run the high side for a little bit to try to catch back up on Proudfoot, and then that'll be the desired line by. Very good line. Whew, almost off the edge there for both of our leaders, and yeah, you can see it there. Little bit of a slide there coming off of the corner for the 71, but still able to keep it close with his title rival, Brandon Proudfoot.
Been some beating and banging behind them. We had some door-to-door contact between Wilson and Segala that almost sent Segala flying off the edge, but they're able to continue on. Down low there for William Hargraves, and it doesn't produce a position, so he stays behind. We're now halfway through the event, and it is Proudfoot leading Hargraves, leading Northcutt, leading Shepherd. A lot of action back here in the mid-pack. Ooh, 3 wide there for a second. Looks like Seneca involved with Barry, and along with the 81 of Segala, but they're going to start to get it sorted out. All of them giving quite a wide berth to that wall coming off of 4.
And I want to give credit there to the 81 of Joe Segala. That game.
Sorry, 23 is off. 23 is on the other side of the ridge. There you see him popping back over. He's waiting. He's being very polite. He's waiting for a clearing so that he can get back on. And now he's running, but he's in 12th.
That's going to bump him down the order. What I was going to say is there was a new meaning of bump draft there from Joe Segala. Connor Berry ran a very good slider. Ooh, I think that's Seneca up and over the edge as well.
And a slider being pulled on the inside by Hargraves, but it backfires. Now to his outside. Here comes Billy Northcutt. He's got the high line. He might be able to get past into second. Oh, and our leader makes a mistake. 3 wide, and it's going to go to Northcutt.
Oh my goodness gracious, Proudfoot just took too much coming out of the curb, and that allowed for him to go by. Slider line attempted to be thrown by Hargraves. That's not going to work now. J.R. Shepherd challenging to try to take that final podium position away from your former leader, Brandon Proudfoot.
Northcutt, who has yet to win this season, could steal one over our rivals as they have been fighting too hard and both have made mistakes. Hargraves still in second, and Proudfoot, though, is in third. They've got some laps left to try and take this back, but this is not going to be easy.
No, it is not, and rest assured that I think Brandon Proudfoot's maybe a little bit skittish coming around that high line now. Again, just got up into his head, but as we continue to watch, that is Hargraves stalking in the tire tracks of Billy Northcutt. Very close. Northcutt running up against the wall. Both drivers taking to the high line.
Hargraves looks like he does have better speed, and this time it's Northcutt who goes off. He's able to slip back on, but I don't think he's going to hold back the 22. Here comes Proudfoot down to the inside. And he's going to try and get up in front of him, leaves him a little bit of space. They bang wheels. Down in front, Billy Northcutt carries his momentum well. Another slider line from the 22. This time it works.
It does indeed. Little bit of a chrome horn there from Billy Northcutt, but Brendan Proudfoot holds it on very well. He's now going to be able to secure that top position, and he's got his sights set back on the lead, but Joe behind as well. You can see him driving there. It looks like J.R. Shepherd trying to make a run at Billy Northcutt. He has got the overlap, at least for now.
Battle for third. Northcutt, who briefly led this race, is suddenly nearly slipping off the podium. Looks like Shepherd won't be able to get by. What a move by William Hargraves to get that lead away, and Proudfoot as well to fight hard for that second. We ride on board with J.R. Shepherd, looking at our top 3 and only 8 laps to go.
It is getting down to crunch time here for these leaders. You can see there, Shepherd doing a good job just trying to keep everything in line. Little bit of a squirrel there. Northcutt flirting with that high berm again.
Well, I think Hargraves actually does have the legs over everybody else. I'm not sure what happened in his qualifying, but he's making up for it here in the race as he's come all the way to the front, is now controlling things. We watch those top 3 continue to run line astern, but it's 7/10 between Proudfoot and Hargraves and 6/10 between Proudfoot and Northcutt.
It is indeed Proudfoot. They're trying to go for a little bit of a slide job to see if that'll do anything, but that actually lost him some time, I think, coming down the backstretch. Now goes back to the high line, flirting with that high side berm. He keeps it off the wall, though.
Goes for the low line once again, seeing if this will do anything. I actually think that's bringing him a little bit closer. Yeah, he was 4/10 before, and now he's 2/10. So the low line through 1 and 2 does seem to be working, but he's running out of laps. We're at 4 to go.
He is indeed. Goes back to the slider line. It looks like he's got a little bit of advantage. It's all about just trying to press it. You're right, Joe. That is fast. He now draws alongside Hargraves. Hargraves going to be able to pull fully ahead by the time they get to the corner, but it's still very, very close. Both drivers right up on the edge of that lip. But here comes Proudfoot. This could be the move.
Is Hargraves going to do the same? Yes, he is. He's going to try to follow him down low, but he sends it a little bit harder. Here comes the 22. He gets a nose ahead out of the corner. We're going to be 2 to go at the line. This time he tries to slider into 3 and 4, and he's got the lead back. How about that? The 22 experimenting pays off as they come down with 2 to go. Both of them now working that very, very bottom line through the corner. Hargraves searching, hoping that he can pull a trick over his rival. White flag starts to win. Oh, and he's off the course. And that brings out the caution. That's going to end it. Unbelievable.
Oh,
Brandon Proudfoot is going to come through and take the checkered flag under yellow, but I'm not even disappointed. What a battle at the end as Proudfoot comes through and takes his 4th win of the season. If he can let the pace truck by. There he goes now. And takes the checkered flag. How about Northcutt into 2nd? Shepard gets 3rd, and Hargraves falls down to 4th.
Oh my goodness gracious, Joe. I need to go on vocal rest after that. My voice was so excited talking about it. That is exactly what you want to see out of a dirt race. Just incredible side-by-side action all the way through, and massive props to all of our top 4 who just drove a spectacular race flag to flag.
And what was even better is that was fair, clean racing the whole way amongst all 3 of them. As we watch some celebration from Brandon Proudfoot, we're going to head to break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so don't go away. Welcome back to Lernerville Speedway. We watched one of the what will probably go down as a classic here in the Bootleg Racing League. Just incredible fighting for the victory amongst all of our rivals. Our main championship protagonists, Brandon Proudfoot, came away the winner, with Billy Northcutt getting second place and J.R. Shepard finishing third. Proudfoot and Northcutt finished where they started incredibly, but that definitely was not the end of the story. William Hargraves had to settle for P4, with Robbie Robinson getting a top 5, and Connor Berry rounds out the top half of the field. John Wilson, was in 7th, followed by Joe Segala in 8th, with Ryan Seneca in 9th and Bobby Hayes to round out your top 10. Michael Davis came in 11th, with Christopher Schaefer behind him in 12th, and Brendan Myers, after having a very good run and being on the podium at one point, was multiple laps down, suffering damage. That takes us to our winner for this evening, Brandon Proudfoot, and as we pull him in and talk to him, Brandon, that had us on our feet up here. That was incredible to watch from up in the stands. What about in the car? How hard is your heart racing right now?
Not really racing, just kind of disappointed the way it ended.
Well, I tell you what, though, even though it did wind up with a caution at the end, all the fighting between you, Hargraves, and Northcutt for the lead, mistakes from every party, and yet everybody kept in the hunt the entire way. How in the world did you guys all do that? And yet it was all clean racing the whole way.
A lot of skill from all three parties, and especially here at Lernerville, a lot of pressing the limits as much as we can. And as you can see there, me and William, we both kind of gave it, or me and Billy gave it a little bit too much air, and William was the only one to not go off.
Well, regardless, it like I said, it was thrilling from our perspective, and a real crowd pleaser. This gives you your 4th victory, and on top of that, with Hargraves not getting the best of qualifying, that'll take some of the qualifying points away from him. You have better finishes in the heat races and a better finish in the feature. So all in all, I mean, you can't take much more than a positive away, because you're going to be leading the championship by a way more points than you were coming in.
Yes and no. I didn't think William was going to go on the outside there on the end, and I really don't like to be the guy that pushes track limits on other drivers, especially whenever you don't have a wall. I think he definitely would have won this race if there was actually a wall around 3 and 4 here around Lernerville, that's for sure.
Slightly despondent Brandon Proudfoot after that race came down to an incredible side-by-side moment at the end. Who would you like to thank for today's victory?
This whole bourbon, winners get whiskey, baby. General Tire, Polos RZR, Vision Wheel, Sansa Application. You guys for doing the broadcast, Lowell for doing the league. William, great race, man. You're gonna be on me the whole season, I guarantee it. Hate it way it ended, but you'll get me back.
That was a little bit more somber response than I expected from Brandon Proudfoot. But let's talk to the other man involved in that, Billy Northcutt, as DJ has caught up with him.
Billy, an absolutely titanic battle at the front that you were witness to. You've got to be happy walking away with a podium here today.
Yeah, man, that was a pretty wild race. I mean, I had a pretty good starting spot finally, and just the way it shook out with Brandon starting on the outside, I was kind of stuck on the inside of the track most of the beginning of the race, and it's just tough down there. And I was trying to take up as much space as I could without getting into JR or anybody else, but it's just hard to get any space down there. But then they wrecked in front of me, and it gave me an opportunity to be on the outside, and we had the lead there for a little bit, but all three of us up front ran off the track at one point or another. It just, you can't even get mad about it. It just is what it is, and you try to have fun with it, finish for the best you can after it happens.
Most certainly. Now, it looked like that it was pretty topside dominant here for the most part, obviously with the caveat of keeping it slightly off the super top. Um, but it looked like anybody that was trying to go low, there was a lot of wheel spin and sliding coming off of the corners. Were you finding that as well, or was that just a commentator looking for something?
Oh yeah, I mean, especially even early in the race, it was already like that down there, and I was just having a heck of a time trying to keep up. I think I had fallen back to fifth or sixth there for a second, and I mean, the only reason I was really up in that front group was because the couple guys in front of me wrecked, and I wasn't able to check up. So that kind of put me back on the high side where I could breathe a little. And but the bottom's definitely hard to run. You have to be good to run down there. And I saw Shepard down there towards the end running pretty darn good. I mean, he's getting really strong. We've got a lot of guys up front now that run hard, and you can see it in the way that we push ourselves because we all drove off the track today. If everybody wasn't good, we wouldn't be doing that. We wouldn't have to.
Well, I understand that, and I can tell you that up here in the booth, we greatly appreciate just how close and how talented you guys are able to run with each other. It just makes it for an absolute joy to call. But looking ahead to Fairbury next week and the rest of the season, obviously you and William Hargraves are Dirt Panda teammates. Are you looking forward to Fairbury? And if you are or if you're not, what else are you looking forward to this season?
Yeah, I feel like in other leagues when we've ran that track and stuff, we've been pretty strong. I know that Brandon's strong there as well, and John, and I mean Justin Morton's really been strong lately too. And he wasn't here tonight. We missed him tonight, but I'm hoping he'll be back to add just another challenge out there. But Fairbury, I think, will be good. I was just happy to get a bit of a monkey off my back today. I've been running in the top 2, top 3 the whole season and just haven't talked to you guys for a while. I've just had some bad luck towards the end of the races on some late restarts or just mental errors. So I was happy to just survive this one, and next week is just a brand new week.
Well, we are excited to see what that brand new week is going to do for you next week, Billy. But anybody you'd like to thank for this run here today?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all my Dirt Panda teammates and my family, my mother-in-law and wife, and my dad. They watch every race I ever run that's broadcasted, and that really means a lot. And we're out here trying to do well. I mean, I've been doing a lot of work on the house and stuff, so I hadn't ran any laps in a street stock since last Friday's race, so I was a little nervous that I was going to be terrible tonight, but we hung on there. So another reason just to be grateful for a second place, and thank you guys for broadcasting. Thank Lowell for running the league, and thank Brandon for always racing so clean up there. After I went off the track, I was a little bit bamboozled out there, and I was having a hard time, and he gave me room to kind of get my bearings back. And it's just really fun to race this league and watch these broadcasts back with you guys. You guys do an outstanding job and deserve more credit than I could possibly give you.
Well, thank you, Billy. And congratulations again on a great run tonight. That was Billy Northcutt, your second place finisher here at Lernerville. And now Joe Peak is caught up with your final podium finisher, J.R. Shepard.
JR, you had a front row seat to that battle, the last restart on, basically. I mean, what was going through your mind as you kept seeing cars going on and off the track and swapping positions?
Yeah, it was pretty wild for sure. It was a great show from my standpoint, where I was running and trying to give those guys a little bit of room, but at the same time stay close enough in case they made a big mistake I could capitalize on it. And yeah, that's the only reason why I finished third today.
Yeah, a little bit of luck. Speaking of the restarts, though, it seemed like you had kind of one of each position up there, some on the outside, some on the inside. From your experience, what was the better one? Because it's a high line track for the most part from what we could tell, but it didn't seem like there was really any predictable pattern of who went where.
Yeah, the top side is definitely where at least I wanted to be. The traction as you take off in turn 4 was a lot better on the outside. You could make 1 and 2 work on the bottom that first lap, but if you didn't get positioned by the backstretch, you were going to get eaten up by the time you got to 3 and 4. So the outside was definitely where I wanted to be, and yeah, I lost a couple of spots pretty early because of that, but those guys were clearly faster.
So 4th in qualifying, I've been noticing that your qualifying positions have continued to show great improvement. Do you think there's a point at which you'll see yourself maybe start from pole?
Yeah, possibility. Given a couple of tracks and if it slicks off enough, I've that was a couple of seasons ago. My biggest downfall was qualifying. I just couldn't put in a good lap for whatever reason. So I went to work on that, and I think I've gotten better at it. But still got a little ways to go. Those guys are extremely fast, and they're able to find a 10th or 2 that I've not been able to yet. But we'll keep working on it.
Well, congratulations on a podium, and thanks for a lot of fun tonight.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
As J.R. Shepard, who finished 3rd today, and that's going to wrap up our interview. So we, of course, want to thank the Bootleg Racing League for bringing us back for another fantastic season of coverage. This has been one of the most exciting ones we've seen here between Proudfoot and Hargraves and the fight that they've been giving back and forth. But we also want to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media through the outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support the channel, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. Got a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC, because the next race will be at Fairbury, Friday, March 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.